Coming front court, across the timeline with 10, knocked away, Dudley Bradley. Dudley Bradley for the stop. 70-68, 3, 2, 1. Matthews off balance, off the glass. Dudley Bradley's defense did it. And ready on his second attempt. That one is no good. They battle for it, loose ball, recovered Marvin, he scores. Pushes into Hubert Davis. 8 seconds. Davis trying to get free. Over to Fox. Fox, baseline. Up for the shot. Good! Off the glass! Oklahoma calls timeout, but the game is over! The game is over! Carolina has upset number 1 Oklahoma!
Turns it over! Kenny Williams with the steal. Gets it to Barry. 17 seconds to go. Barry, Duke not fouling. Gets it to Johnson. To Pinson for the highlight. Inbounds goes deep on the right sideline to May. Holy smokes, a long three! Are you kidding me? Holy cow! Pinson gets all the way to the rim, and what a way to pick up his first field goal of the season by throwing down the tomahawk.
With 20 seconds left to play, goes back to Michael Jordan, jumper from out on the left, good! 63-62, 13, 12, 11, Georgetown with one timeout. Fred Brown looking, oh, way to Worthy! Worthy 5! The Tar Heels are going to win the national championship!
Rebounded by Weber. Michigan out of timeout. Weber front court, Carolina with foul. He takes the timeout, they're out of timeout. Technical foul! Technical foul! Brown gets it into Williams. Here comes Williams front court. Williams on the drive. Gets it back out to Head. Long outside shot. Short rebounded. May! It's over! Carolina has won the national championship! How about them Tar Heels? They are the national champions.
That's it! Make room for 2017. The Tar Heels are the national daggum champions.
This is the Roy's Boys Podcast with your host, Joshua Marlowe. And welcome in another edition of the Roy's Boys Podcast, powered by Carolina Electrical Services. For your electrical needs, call Jacob Marlowe at 704-320-7357, and he'll make sure to take care of those for you guys right away. Josh and Anthony, we're here with you as always, and tonight we're doing a kind of impromptu edition of the podcast with the NBA draft that was happening tonight. Carolina, of course, had 3 first-rounders. That wasn't a surprise. A surprise that kind of sparked the podcast to be happening this late at night was what happened with Cam Johnson and his selection, which kind of gave us the motivation to do a show this late on a Thursday night. So we'll go ahead and just discuss what happened. You had the 3 guys get drafted: Kobe White, Cam Johnson, and Nassir Little. No surprise. The surprise was Cam Johnson was picked 11th overall in the draft. Originally by the Minnesota Timberwolves. His rights will be shipped to Phoenix once the NBA new year begins, which is, I believe, next week. We're sitting at the draft party we attended tonight, and I just kind of looked at you with this eyes like, what just happened when we saw his name pop up at the 11 slot?
Well, first we saw you saw this on Twitter and said it to me, and I turned to you and said, who is your source? Make sure that this is not one of the fake accounts that is typical of doing these types of things. But no, it was real. It's kind of weird because you go from a guy in Kobe White who literally was selected where every single draft expert besides, I think once Minnesota traded up to 6, one of the ESPN guys, I think it might have been Jonathan Givony, had switched his selection for Kobe White to 6 to Minnesota. Literally everybody else had Kobe going at 7 to Chicago. So that was expected. We were all sitting there like, okay, yep, that makes sense. And then we're sitting there, and we're like, okay, well, we get to 9, maybe Nassir goes here. No. We were literally focused on the idea that, is Nassir Little going to go to Charlotte? We're focusing on that. We're talking. We were at a Hornets draft party in Charlotte, by the way. So we're amongst a bunch of Hornet fans, including our friend MFG, who had to leave early because of a situation. that we won't discuss, and our friend Bill, who's a big Hornets fan and also a Tar Heel fan. And we were talking to him, and we're just focused on, okay, are they going to take Nas Little? Are they going to do the thing that we don't think they should do because they already got Miles Bridges on the roster? And all of a sudden, like, you're looking at your phone and you're like, okay, they're taking Cam Johnson here. I'm like, oh, what, the Hornets? I'm like, that's a little high, but that makes it... No. Phoenix is taking Cam Johnson. I'm going to be real honest with you. I absolutely hate it for Cam because that is the worst. That is the worst team in the league, and it's frankly not even close. When you want to talk about a team that has zero hope, you talk about the Phoenix Suns. They have one player that is decent. The rest of that roster is absolute garbage. They have one of the worst front offices in the history of sports. This team is going nowhere, plain and simple. And for a guy at 23 years old to be put on a team that needs young guys that are going to take a couple of years and help build that team into what they could potentially be down the road, which everybody, of course, we all know what the game plan is now. Everybody wants to be like the Warriors. Start young and build with some of these guys sticking together. For Cam Johnson, this is one of the worst possible outcomes in this draft, if not the worst for him. And, I wish him the best. I think he can be successful there because we've talked about it. The NBA game demands three-point shooting now. But I'm going to be really honest with you. I'm heartbroken for him because I thought that there were other spots where he fit very, very well, and he gets stuck on a team that frankly sucks. I'm going to be real with you. Terrible.
I just thought when they made the pick, maybe that was a pick for him to be used as trade bait. The NBA draft is about to conclude. That wasn't the case. Now, we learned after the pick was announced, and it was really the first surprise of the night. What happened before 11, there wasn't really any shocking developments. He has some connections to some people in the front office with Phoenix. So that kind of put it all together. When we say that there was no talk of him at all going in the lottery, there was no talk of him at all going in the lottery. Even though he was regarded as the draft's best shooter.
Right.
He's 23 years old, which in the NBA is looked upon negatively because it's not the NFL where, you got to grow. The NBA wants young and upside. He may have already peaked at his basketball high, and there's nothing wrong with that. Right. But you don't only see those guys go in the lottery unless they're being drafted by, let's say, the Charlotte Hornets, or that's what they do. So that's where I have questions with it. I think you put him in the backcourt with Devin Booker. That's kind of Splash Bros 2.0. They're going to be able to fill the cup, but
they don't have anybody else.
Yeah, we were big proponents of seeing him fall in the mid-20s. You go to a contender, where you come off the bench and you're a key rotation player. Now you're going to a situation where you're going to need to be a starter, play a lot of minutes, and be a part of a team that's trying to build since Steve Nash left there. Like Phoenix, I wrote this in the article I wrote about the draft, they've been looking for an identity for almost 10 years now, once Steve Nash left Phoenix.
Yeah.
You've got Devin Booker, that's it. We know they're going to be. They've been active in wanting to get a veteran point guard in there because they haven't had a point guard since Steve Nash. But other than that, even if you get that, no matter who that is, whether it's D'Angelo Russell or whoever, you're still not in a place to contend. And that's where I think for us as Tar Heel fans, we hate it for Cam because we want him to go somewhere where he can be successful and win. He may go to Phoenix and be a successful player. Just not going on basketball games we don't see in the foreseeable future for the guys. So,
just mentioned the worst thing about Phoenix right there. Out of all their biggest concerns, their front office is concerned about getting a veteran point guard when you literally just talked about who their best player is. It's Devin Booker, who's what? A point guard.
Well, he's more of a shooting guard.
He was ball dominant when he was at Kentucky. And he's been that really in Phoenix. But the thing is, I don't get, like, if you're Phoenix, you got to look at that. I mean, here's the thing. Trading up for Cam Johnson I don't think, trading back and then taking him, that's right. I don't think it was the worst idea ever. But then later on in the night, you end up trading a first-round draft pick next year to get back Aaron Baines from the Celtics, who, he had like a couple of moments where he shined last year. Not even this past season. The year before, we're talking about, with no Kyrie, he showed up a couple of times in the playoffs and played decent, if that. And you're really telling me that this is a team that is going somewhere? No, I mean, that's the reason I hated for Cam Johnson. I mean, I wish him the best, and believe me, I hope that he's the guy that can turn them around. And that he's a guy that could get them into contention in the Western Conference to make the playoffs, I'm saying. But, it just sucks because when you look at it, I mean, look at some of the teams that were around there. I mean, can you imagine if he landed on the Celtics? That would have been a phenomenal fit.
Right.
There were other teams outside of the lottery that we talked about. We didn't really like necessarily Detroit for Nazir. I don't think it would have been a terrible fit for Cam. So there are so many other areas close that if you were going to have him get drafted higher, okay, I could live with that. The fact that he got drafted by Phoenix just...
Yeah, we mentioned the teams in the end of the lottery to the late teens just because everything that I had looked at researching the draft, and same with you, he wasn't mocked there, so there was honestly no reason to talk about it. And then this happens. We'll move to Kobe, where, as you mentioned, went where literally everybody had him selected to go.
One of the obvious picks of the evening.
Basically had a draft promise when he left the combine back in May that as long as you're available at 7, we're taking you.
Mm-hmm.
There was maybe some thought about when Atlanta got up to 4, if they were maybe going to go up to get him because they had shown a lot of interest early in the draft process and putting him in a backcourt with Trae Young. They went a different direction. I think Chicago is probably the best fit for Kobe. You look at their numbers last year, they were 29th in offensive efficiency and 21st in pace. He'll fix that immediately just because of the way he plays the game.
Pace will be in the top. By now.
You've got a good backcourt mate in Zach LaVine. They've got a promising young front court with Lauri Markkanen and Wendell Carter Jr. If you remember last year, even though he's a Duke guy, I was a big fan of him going into the NBA draft.
Yeah.
So the fit for Kobe, I think, was phenomenal. He's the first Tar Heel they've drafted since they drafted MJ, and we all know what Michael did in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
We're happy for the kid. Number 7 overall pick. Really not a lot to say about the pick because this was expected.
I mean, they embraced him pretty quickly. A lot of the Chicago fans that I follow, just from following a lot of the guys that cover Mitch in the area, I mean, they loved the pick. They thought it was phenomenal. It is kind of cool that it's 35 years from the date, basically. I think the day was yesterday, but the day after. To have him get drafted by Chicago, and pretty much a lot of the fans in Chicago were like, hey, last time we drafted a guy out of North Carolina, this was our guy. Now, there may have been somebody else in between, but you know what they're basically saying, someone of that talent. We talked about this on the preview for the draft. They've been looking for a guy at point guard since Derrick Rose. I mean, Chris Dunn, you can say whatever you want about him. I loved him in college. I thought he was great at Providence. He never turned out to be the guy that they thought he was going to be.
Right.
Kobe White brings that type of mentality, and he's a guy that we thought his game fit better in the NBA than it did at the college level. If you look at what Dunn did, he was a guy that was there for 4 years, and we thought, okay, this is probably a college guy that was really good, and that's why he got drafted high. 2 totally different guys. I think Kobe will love playing in Chicago. It's a bigger stage. It's not easy to win there because there is some pressure.
Yeah, there's media toughness there. You talk about a franchise dying to have a point guard since you lose Derrick Rose.
Right.
You draft the NBA. You draft the most accomplished point guard in this draft.
Right.
There were other guys out there, Darius Garland, who you might play on the ball. even Ty Jerome, but those guys are going to be ball handlers, not point guards, where Kobe's going to run the offense, get the defense in order,